Hey there YouTube, AJ here, and today I'm going to be assembling my new Black & Decker Workmate 225. If you saw my last video on my hot rod, I recently killed my Black & Decker Workmate 200 that I'd had for 30 some years. I used that thing all the time. It gave me many years of service. I know it was getting old and it had some issues. The wood and the top boards were breaking down, and I had done some repairs to it, and this last time just kind of killed it completely. Wasn't feasible to repair where the damage was. So knowing how much I use that thing, I immediately got online, looked up, trying to find a replacement, and lo and behold, Amazon had the 225, which I guess is the next evolution of what I had. It was like on a 55% off instant sale, so I just went ahead and bought it, and I'm going to throw it together today and see how I like it compared to my old one. Alright, first things first, it says to set it up. So far, setup is exactly like my old one. We're just going to set the base here. Well, so far, seems to be just like my old one. Now, take the two screw shafts and put these travelers on them. They can only go on one end. You'll see there's a roll pin here that stops you from sliding over that way. And now when you put them in, you want the studs that hold the workbench surface going away from the end with the roll pin. And then the only other thing to note is these are not typical right-hand threads, so righty-tighty, lefty-loosey will not work here. You need to twist these to the left to slide them on. We're going to put them about halfway on. Now with these partially installed, it's going to go like this, but there's a washer that goes on there. Take these washers, put them down against the roll pin, and then into position in your track. And then you take one of these little handles, put over it, and you'll notice there's a hole that goes through it, and there's a hole through the screw rod. So you want to line those up. And then there's a little roll pin that you need to drive into that, which might be difficult right now because I don't have a hammer. Alright, I got it started. I'll finish that later. Okay, let's get the other one. Washer, roll pin, socket wrench hammer. These little guys are your handles for your cranks. They just snap into position like so. So our next step is to take the front edge of the work surface, and these blocks here, and there's two different kinds of blocks. One has this T-shaped piece on it, and one does not. So they look pretty similar, except for that. The T-shaped pieces are for the rear deck. I'll explain why in a minute. And then the piece without the T-shape is for the front deck. The raised piece goes into the hole here, and then there's a recessed hole here that the bolt's going to go down through the deck, through this piece, and into the travel bearing, carrier, whatever you want to call this white piece here on the screw shaft. So what we need to do, put that up through the rail on the frame, put the stud piece here through this hole, and our bolt goes down into that hole, and should thread into the carrier. They give you this cute little plastic wrench thing to tighten them down with. I'm just going to snug it for now while I work on the other side. And we just want to repeat that over here. Now, when you turn the handles, it will move the front jaw work deck. That's pretty much that. We can tighten those down. Now this one, the front piece, can actually be done off of the frame. It's different from my old Workmate in that aspect. My old Workmate, the rear jaw actually bolted to the frame. Again, putting one from the back, stud going into this hole up here, and then this bolt actually threads down into that T-piece. Let's go ahead and put the other one on. Now, the reason you don't bolt this in like the other one is that these rails actually have like a little square opening here and 3 different sizes. So the idea is you put those square T's into that square hole, and then you can lock it into position. And if this gap isn't big enough, you can do it again to that slot or the last slot. And then this will only tighten down, so far. I'm not sure if I like that feature yet or not. It may be more handy, it may be less handy. My old mate actually bolted down at the rear, and then you could open it as far as you wanted. These traveling screws actually ran the full width of the frame. To be honest, if you had to open it all the way up or close it all the way down, yeah, it got kind of a pain with the handles. So maybe this is better. I don't know yet. I guess we'll use it and see how we like it. It also comes with these jaws that are used to hold things on the Workmate, and it can be moved from the different holes around and to hold different odd shaped pieces, whatever you need. These are different from the other ones. I still have my other ones. I'm sure they'll still fit in these holes, so I'll keep them. So it's got these grooves around the outside edge and a notch this way, a V-shaped groove this way. So that might assist in holding some weird stuff. So that might be kind of handy. I will keep my old ones as well, so we can mix and match and use whatever we need. Let me go get a hammer and finish this, and then we'll talk about it. All right, there's one. And there's 2. Okay, so looking at our new Workmate 225 versus our old Workmate 200. Couple things different. I already pointed out the differences in these, which I think is an improvement. I think instead of just having the flat surface that my old ones had, I think this could come in very handy with all these grooves around it. However, like I said, I will keep my old ones and mix and match, and I think I'll have the best of both worlds. Some of these holes are stiff, difficult to get these in and out of. I'm sure that'll get better with time. One of the major differences is how the jaws work. Jaws / Workmate surfaces. If I turn this all the way in, you can see that I still have this big gap here when it's in the rear position. So to close up tighter, you have to pop the rear deck out and move it up. I did not know this is the way this one worked. I'm not sure if I'm going to like that feature or not. You can see here with it in the closest position, I can't close the jaws up all the way. I am worried about the longevity of this plastic T-piece though. That could be something I could see giving away, and I got to figure out a way to make this work. The deck boards themselves are interesting. they still have this groove cut into the face of each jaw, which I always did like. You could put a piece of pipe or something in there and hold it. They've got a scale here in centimeters on this side and inches on this side. That's kind of handy for quick reference, although how accurate this is, I don't know. Big thick lines with centimeters. You know, each line is over 1 millimeter thick, so I don't know how accurate that's going to be. Same kind of problem on the Imperial side. So, take that for what it's worth. For quick measurement, it's probably kind of handy, but you know, I don't know if I'll ever use it that much. The biggest other difference, other than the way they mount, is the material. While the old ones were made out of a solid wood of some sort, even though it didn't seem to be a really hard wood, it did last a long time, but in the end, especially around my corners, it was starting to break down, and like in the edges here, you could see where the wood was starting to give way and crumble. This, however, these are made of bamboo. I find bamboo an interesting material, being how quickly bamboo regrows. It's a very renewable source of material, and I like that about it. However, strength for this, I don't know. I think this says it would hold 400 pounds, 350. I forget. Let me see. I forget how much this is rated for in terms of weight. I did look at like the Workmate 450, which was more than double the cost of this one because of the 55% off flash sale I hit it on. But it held a lot more weight. I'll look it up. I'll put the 225 weight limits and the 450 on the screen below. I mean, overall, the frame and everything seems just as sturdy as my old one, if not maybe a little more. This difference in the way the jaws work, I'm not sure if I'm happy with that yet. Hopefully long term, I'll get just as much use and life out of this one as I did my old one. And I'll like it just as much, I hope, because I love my old one. So we'll see. I think it's all going to come down to the durability of the bamboo tops itself and how well I like working with that locking system where I can quickly change the distance, you know, for how big of a piece I want. But again, I'm not sure how much I like that versus just being able to tighten this jaw the whole length of the way. I will say these screws feel like they are bigger than the old ones. I feel like they're like a larger size. They're shorter, but where the old ones ran the full length and these are shorter. That could just be my memory not remembering it right. I'm not sure. The bamboo is definitely lighter than the old ones. In terms of weight, this does overall feel maybe a little lighter or about the same. I'm not sure. I guess in the end, I'm just not going to know until I start working on this. For the price I paid, I'll be happy if I can get 20 years out of it. I know that sounds kind of greedy, but I did get 30 some out of my other one, so getting 20 out of this one, I don't feel that's unreasonable. How happy I'm with it in the end, I guess, is just, we're just going to have to wait and see when I start actually working with it. So until then, YouTube, later.